Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Let's Build That App.com channel. I hope you guys are doing well, and I hope you're ready for a very quick lesson in the Swift Firebase chat application series. The other day, someone from Google Firebase, they emailed me a very quick trick about Firestore decoding of objects, and I wanted to show you this trick in today's video. So before I talk about the trick, I want to go over some of the code that I presented in the very last lesson. So basically, last video, I showed you guys how to fetch all of these recent message objects here, right? So in other words, if I'm logged in as the waterfall 1 user, I have these messages here, and for this user, I have these messages there. Now, if you go into the code here, you'll see the fetch recent messages, and you'll see somewhere along the way where we're decoding our objects inside of line 54 here. So, you're looking at it and you might think that this is fairly okay. There's not a lot of, let's call it redundant code. There isn't a whole lot of that, but the moment that you look inside of the actual object you're decoding, you'll see a lot of this code here that I typed out. Now, there's nothing terrible about this code here, but what if I told you you don't actually need any of this code here? Typing this out can be a little error prone, and it's a lot of code to maintain. If you add a new property inside of your recent message model, you're probably going to want to update this block of code if you had to maintain this stuff here. So the trick for today's video is to actually eliminate this code and perform the decoding of your properties, somewhat automatically. So this process is fairly simple, but we have to actually install the SDK project first, and then I'll show you some of the code. Now, where am I here? So let me quickly bring in a Chrome browser. I'll link this guide at the description below. Basically, Peter from the Firebase developer advocate team, he wrote this very interesting article about how to kind of map your Firestore data automatically. You'll see that he has a very good explanation as to why you would want to do this and how to actually map your data. So, give that a read, but I'm going to start today's video by starting right here on how to actually perform the decoding. So you'll see you're gonna want to install this Firebase Firestore Swift dependency via SPM. So I'll show you guys how to do that right now. Let me drag that out of the way. And this is fairly simple. So I'll do this right here instead of our current project. You'll see if you click on this guy on the top left, that selection will lead you to the page that looks like this here. Click on the project on the top left, and I wish I could edit the dependency in here, but I don't really know how. So, I would like to edit those checkboxes again, but I can't really do that. So what I'll do is I'm just going to remove it from my project again. I think we've done this before in a episode long ago, right? Now, the moment that you do that, you're going to want to install this SDK again. So I already have it in recently used, and I will either double click it or add the package right here. These should be okay. I'm just going to use the next major version there. And at the time of this recording, we have 8.0.0 for the, I guess the minimum version, which is what I have. All right, so let's see. Can I expand this guy just a little bit here? Video looks fine. So the dependencies or the packages that we've installed is Firebase Auth. There is this Firebase Firestore Swift project there. Currently it's in beta. I'm not really sure why it's beta. It should be outside of beta, but that's the version that I'll use here. by the time you're watching this, it's probably not beta anymore. But that's what I have. We also have the Firestore project. We have storage as well. So I believe those are the couple of SDKs that we need inside of our project currently. Obviously, it might be different depending on what kind of project you're building. So go ahead, hit the add. It's going to work its way by downloading the necessary items. And with all that done, I'm going to go back inside of here. And I think I already have the SDK downloaded, but all of this code should be fine. Now it's complaining about the code that I commented out, so I'll go inside of here and undo that. And go back into my file, hit Command Option P to resume this guy here. And it should get rid of all these errors, and you'll see the green dot somewhere on the top left, as long as my computer is fast enough to render out my preview. Okay, so let's just wait for that guy. The next part of the installation is to actually use these objects. So this recent message, right? So this recent message right here, it's currently just a standard struct that conforms to the identifiable protocol. Now, the way for all of this to work is to make sure that your objects are conforming to Codable or decodable. Either one's fine. The moment that I do that, you'll see that it says that recent message does not conform to encodable. And the reason why it's doing that is because of this timestamp here. It's not exactly a Swift object, so to make things easier, I'll just comment that out. Okay, once you do that, you can hit Command B to build your project, and you'll see that Codable is now being used. And again, the idea is we don't really want to use this init code, so I'll comment out all of that as well. Now, the next thing you'll see is if you hit Command B one more time, you'll run into the error message here. And it says that you no longer have that initializer inside of your recent message, so you can't use this guy anymore. So the trick here is you want to use this bit of code, so document and data. And there is this bit of code where you use this as guy here. So I'm going to use this bit of code. And I will just say right here, let rm equals all of that. And I will comment this out. So this right here, it should be okay. And I'm just going to use a try block here. And I think I should be fine. So for whatever reason, I need, let's see, import Firebase up here. I believe Firebase should just work, or you can import that as well. Let me just use the Firebase. I don't think I need the actual Firestore SDK. So once I have that, you'll see this guy doesn't exactly do what I'd want. So there is the data right here. Let me try to import the Firebase Swift project. So import Firestore, Swift right there. And then finally, I believe you can use data as. All right, so make sure you import the correct Firebase project and you'll have this code here. You'll see that the data from your document, so basically we're just getting the document from our Firebase Firestore object, and you'll just need to put recent message.self. Let's see, that looks pretty good. I'm going to build my code. Hopefully my green dot will return. And here we go. We have our waterfall 1. So I've removed this line, right? So obviously we don't have messages inside of the scroll view. And the only thing that's left for us to do is to repeat this code here. So you can say self.recentMessages dot, let's see, right here, insert our object is going to be the recent messages from above, like so. And then we'll use the index of 0. Now you'll notice that the try block right here gives you an optional recent message, right? The solution for that is to just use if let optional binding. And once you do that, your code should be somewhat okay here. Now you'll see if you build your project, you run your code, it's not going to exactly show your messages just yet. So the way to kind of see what's going on is to actually run this in the simulator. And let me just show you the process of decoding, or to debug your actual errors. Use a do catch block here, and we'll just print the potential error. So this is an implicit error that you get from the do catch block. And then we will do this here. I am going to take this bit of code and we'll put that here, remove the question mark there. And then we'll take this here. All right, so that's pretty good. It's always a good practice to just make sure that you have your messages ready. So this guy, I believe it's still using this right here. So why don't we apply the same trick again? So let's do that and that right here. And I will run this inside of the iPhone Pro simulator. And everything should be good to go here. So Firebase Chat is this app there. And I have my simulator loading up now. So what's going to happen is you'll see the do catch block is going to try to decode this recent message that we just coded up. And it's going to run in this line 62 error. And you'll see down in the console why exactly it's failing. So this guy is waterfall1@gmail.com, and that is the password. Okay, so that is pretty good. If you try to look at the console below, I think we should maybe see something. So I had to log in again, so I'm just going to rerun my simulator. And after you rerun, you'll see that you have this error message down below that says that document ID isn't provided inside of your data block for this document here. And basically, I'll show you what the problem is. If you go back to your recent message there, you'll see we have this document ID here. We didn't exactly add this property to our Firestore document. So once you remove that, you should not see this error anymore, but you'll see this compiler error above. One thing to do to kind of fix this document ID is to use something else that's presented inside of this, I guess this guide here from Peter. And the thing is, you can use this document ID annotation, and we'll just grab it here. So we'll just do that. We will use that, move that out of the way. And then I'll comment that out and we'll use the document ID instead. And I believe that should be okay. Again, you are going to want to use that, I believe. And once you have that imported, this will become this teal color. And I think I can use the build. Let's see, this should be okay, I suppose. And I don't think I want to use a question mark. I think that should be fine. Okay, so I'll do that there and I'll try to build my project. Let's see right here. It's telling me that this document ID guy doesn't exist anymore. You can just use ID here and you should be fine. Okay, so I am going to run my project again. You'll see inside of the simulator, we have our messages laid out inside of our view just like this. If you go back to your project and open up your messages view yet again, which is this file, you can hit Command Option P to resume it inside of the simulator here on the right, and you'll see your messages look just like what you have in the simulator here. So, this is still spinning, but everything should be fine. Let me just remove this block of code that we eliminated. And let's kind of go over what exactly we did in today's video. So previously, if I just undo, previously we had this line of code, right? This was using the insertion, very similar to what we had up here, but instead of just kind of automatically decoding our object, we performed this initializer that used the very long and convoluted code of this constructor there. And you'll see that all of this code we no longer needed. So what this means is we can just get rid of it. We don't have to maintain it anymore. We've also gotten rid of the document ID, which is a little, I don't know, maybe a little hacky is what I would call it. And again, the code right here is much cleaner because you don't have that huge constructor anymore. Something else that you might be kind of considering here now is that this timestamp object, right? This is the recent message, and you see on the right, it says 22 days. The reason why it says that is it's kind of just hard coded inside of here. So if I do a Command F and it's 22D, you'll see it's just hard coded. If you want to actually get the date object from Firestore, you can do this here. So timestamp, right? It's this timestamp object. If you try to build, I'm not sure if you can do this. So let me hit build. I'm just looking at this on the top right. Okay, I'm going to run and let's see if my messages come back. Okay, so it's looking okay. And what I'm going to do is, I believe you can actually change this to a date object, and that should work as well. I'm going to run and everything should be okay. All right, so if you change this to a date object, the automatic decoding process will kind of just dump your timestamp as a date. And I'll prove that to you by going into main messages view. And instead of doing this, right, you can actually use the recent message dot timestamp like that. And you can just use description. So I believe this worked when I was testing it earlier. I'm just refreshing the preview now to make sure that it does indeed work. And you'll see the timestamp looks like this on the right. This message was sent on, let's see, November 22nd at about midnight. And this was sent a little bit before midnight. So that's why it's showing up like so. Everything looks pretty good in my opinion. Maybe I want to do that. So that's pretty much how you would perform this automatic decoding process. Again, we've removed a lot of the code inside of this file, which is always a great thing. One line of code less in your project actually does add up. And if you don't have to maintain one line of code, it's very substantial from my experience. So that's how you perform the Codable. Another nice thing about this Codable trick is that something that you can do, for example, let me go back to the chat log view here. Remember, whenever we send a message, right, we're sending a message using this handle send block of code. And then when you're constructing the actual data that you save on line 65 here, you'll notice that you're setting up the dictionary manually like this, right? You have your key name, and then your actual value using this manual setup. If you don't want to do this, you can actually use the decodable trick and just set it up automatically. If you go over the guide, it's shown at the very top how to actually do this. So somewhere right here, it actually constructs your book using an actual constructor like so. And then you can use a JSON encoder to encode your data like this there. And then you just send this inside of Firestore, or you send it to Firestore rather. So that's another neat trick to avoid all of this kind of manual typing there with these key values that you might, mistype. So that's another neat trick. One exercise that I'll leave up to you is if you look at your chat message here, right? It's very similar to the previous problem that we had. We have this huge chunk of initializer constructor code there that you can avoid. So I will kind of clean this up and I'll provide it as the source download below in the description. If you guys have any questions about any of this process, please let me know and I'll see you guys next time.